Hello, it's me, James, and I'm here with Ben. Hello, Ben.
Hello.
And we have our heads and everything. And we're here to talk about Dice Fight XL, which just happened as we record this video. Well, okay, a couple of days ago. It was on Saturday the 15th, and I think it's only Wednesday today, so this is hot off the press, or at least as hot as it comes. So, Ben, what are we going to talk about exactly?
Today, I think we're going to talk about a lovely spreadsheet.
Ooh,
Ta-da!
it's highlighting my rosacea perfectly. Yes, thank you very much, Nick JackalopeSpam, who has processed the stats. Basically, there's a bunch of team links. Well, in fact, I think I can probably show you that. There's a bunch of team links which people submit when they join the online competition, and Nick has fed those into his stat machine and produced a nice summary for us. We've got a list of basically all the cards used. Maybe I should say that. No, 93 unique cards, and they are ranked in order of how often they appeared on the, how many teams with it? Was it 18? 18 teams, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we had quite a lot of participants. Thank you very much, everybody, for taking part. And this is a list of the most popular cards. Ben, take it away. What do you notice?
Well, I think we should mention that it was probably this is the biggest tournament in preparation for Gen Con, which is obviously Dice Masters Worlds happening at the beginning of August this year. So this is our first real look at what competitive modern single, as opposed to two-team takedown, which also happened recently.
Yep.
So this is probably our first look at what modern looks like. It was quite surprising. I think everyone was pleasantly surprised by how diverse the teams appeared. A few pieces, obviously, that ranked among the top. There wasn't anyone, even in the top, which you can see here, Invisible Woman and Lilandra, which appeared on 7 different teams. They're still, way lower than 50% of teams. So, even like Master Mold, which appeared on basically every team in the top 10 at Worlds last year, we were not seeing that.
Yeah, we should say that we were, I think, expecting a bit of a master mold fest with some people doing left field stuff, left maybe control, and what it turned out was that just 3 people did the master mold thing. To everybody's credit, I think 3 people did the master mold thing, and everybody else did something pretty left field on the whole.
The other thing I think we should probably mention is it's a little bit like a warm up as well for Gen Cons. I know at least I and a few other people are going to be at Worlds, and do you want to tip your hat? So that's a little bit of maybe shifted it away from Master Mold slightly. Although I played a Master Mold team, so who knows? Maybe
people like to keep their powder dry.
Yes, very nice way of putting it. But the main thing that's changed since last year's Worlds is obviously we had Marvel Secret Wars come out, and you can see in the little box just to the right of the card list the MSW set, by far the best represented, with 32 different cards from that. So about a third of the cards were from Marvel Secret Wars, which obviously has had a big impact, particularly with the ability to slow down Master Mold and make other win conditions viable. So we're looking through the list. We were joking earlier that probably the top 8 cards could all make a pretty good team if you put those together. But that win condition would probably be Thor, which appeared on 5 different teams, which is quite surprising. Sure. The rest are very much control utility pieces. So Thor seems to be the most prevalent win condition, although I know I played Thor, and I know Danny, who also played Master Mold, had Thor as kind of an alternate win condition. I'm sure other people had Thor as kind of a backup win condition because, like I said, it helps you buy basic action cards just for the global itself, and it can also be used as a bit of spot removal. Which can be very useful. Surprises. I mean, for James, I'm sure Invisible Woman being at the top and not being the super rare, because I know in our podcast he said that the common Invisible Woman was rubbish.
I'm not sure I'm being accurately quoted there. I think I agreed that the global would be very popular. I would be interested to see how many people bought Invisible Woman herself for anything but the masks that she provides. Yeah. Whereas I feel that people probably did buy the super rare in anger, so to speak.
Yeah, true. No, but this global is huge. The Force Block global is very useful pretty much on every team, particularly with the prevalence of Deadly. I think there's Deathbirds. I think the Usurper. Is it the Usurper or is it the Treacherous? Both had 3
There's a
appearances.
question. You'd have to check. Hang on, I can look on my phone, but I can't change anything on the screen, or everything will go
I'll do
horribly
it
pear-shaped.
quickly.
I will
So
say,
Death
if there is deadly in the form of whichever deathbird it is, or the molecule man, the
Molecule Man as
uncommon,
well.
using those with a force block is a way of removing stuff which gets around distraction, because the whole deadly thing means that if they're
Yeah.
engaged in any way, regardless of whether they're subsequently removed from combat, they will be KO'd at the end of turn. So it's not, it's only a KO removal, but that might be all you need, as I discovered.
Yeah, no, so you can see the Deathbird Treacherous, which is a deadly one, and Molecule Man are both inside the top 12. And it's interesting to see the Molecule Man is there when you consider it's mainly there for the free fielding global. And you think something like Robin, which is at number 20, would have maybe seen a few more plays rather than Molecule Man. And that probably was
Again,
a
I think,
response.
yeah, this is an assumption that there was going to be a bunch of Villainous Pact and Master Mold, and Villainous Pact prevents you from blocking with anything but villains except for one character. So I know that I made decisions to keep more villains on my team. That Deathbird, that Deathbird that we were just asking about, it's on the mat in front of me. I probably could have just looked down. That Deathbird and Molecule Man both are villains, so I personally chose Molecule Man over Robin at the very last minute, mainly for that reason, but also because I didn't have any masks on my team, and I kept ending up with just shields, which is not very helpful.
The lack of masks is interesting as well, I think, for distraction and force attack and this kind of force block. They're all mask globals, so maybe fitting a mask character or having a way to generate masks might be a useful thing going into the future. I found that a couple of times where I couldn't use the Robin global because I didn't have any masks. So that was an issue. I think kind of other things that stand out to me, Lilandra is obviously number 2.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised by it. I mean, I know
Global
she's good and all.
huge. So if we go along to the right-hand side of your page, the average globals per team is 5.6. So over the half the cards on the average person's team had a global on. So getting ways to stop that is pretty massive, especially when you're making them pay 2 life. Interestingly, did anyone go for Pip?
Joel had a Pip because I played him first. I think 78. You said. There you go. Just the one. That must have been Joel. Hello, Joel.
And that is the uncommon. So no one used the rare, which is interesting.
I will say the use of Pip and more commonly Lilandra is a bit ironic, considering the other thing. I think firstly people assumed that there would be a bunch of Master Mold, and secondly they assumed that along with Master Mold, at least some of the Master Mold players would bring a truckload of ramp in order to get to get the engine moving swiftly. And so a lot of people, myself included, made the decision not to bring any ramp. I had Rush, but I didn't have any ramp globals. And so in spite of the fact that there are 5.6 globals on average per team, quite a lot of those were not ramp globals, because I definitely played several other people who had made that exact same decision. I'm never going to do it again. Let me just say that now. It makes me
either using the Pip the Troll to stop the force attack or dissuade force attack or force block, that can still add up quite quickly.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's interesting going back to the PXG debate, because during that time you had Jinzo, which did the same thing as Lilandra, versus Oracle, which did the same thing as the uncommon Pip. And Oracle was much more played than Jinzo was, because people thought that Oracle stopped your opponent from being out to PXG, whereas Jinzo didn't stop it, it just taxed them. They didn't stop.
Interesting. But is that a 4 versus a 6? And this is a 4 versus a 5. It might have something.
That's true. So the one discount on the Lilandra might have made a difference. But also maybe Pip's defense, the fact that it's so weak.
Yeah.
Doesn't have that kind of defensive body that Oracle had. But it's an interesting debate. I'd like to see more people probably try and play Pip and the effect that would have. Because playing 3 for a Mr. Sinister Global is quite a lot.
Yes. If I'm going to make any predictions about the Worlds meta, this has got to swing back slightly the other way. I mean, not only are people keeping their powder dry, but surely people will have learned from not bringing prep globals, for example.
Yeah. Then doesn't that make you more incentivized to bring something like Lilandra?
Yes, it does. I'm not disagreeing.
Two-team takedown, a lot of the time I wouldn't even go for Master Mold. I'd go for Lilandra and just burn them down that way.
Let people kill themselves.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I know I was speaking to Peter. Peter was running on really the only pure Master Mold team, the traditional kind of the way Dana won US Nats with it last year, and the way
Yeah.
Lorenzo won Worlds with it last year. And I know in two of his games, he basically said that he killed himself because he just took so much burn damage, and then couldn't get his Master Mold out to do enough damage in return, so just lost on life. So it's very interesting. Yeah, the impact of distraction is obviously huge, just on 6 teams.
Surprising that's not higher, really. Six. It's only a third of teams, and given that only 3 teams had Master Mold, so there must have been a bunch of other combat win conditions, or at least some
other people not willing to. Yeah, I at least saw a couple. I know we're going to do a video on kind of how our own experiences were, more specifically. But yeah, distraction. You either play it or you don't play it. If you see what I mean, you're either building a team that's going to hit you with combat damage,
or in my case, you play it and then don't play
it, or that. Distraction probably is to stop the forced attack.
Yes, as much as anything, that's true. Yeah,
as much as anything, right?
And again, why did we not see more of that? If people were assuming Master Mold, which I think they were, surprising. Yeah. But so people are choosing not to play Control, but then at least 2 of the teams that I played were controlling. What was your experience of? I don't know. Yeah, we don't need to go into team details, but in terms of smashy teams versus controlling teams,
I think a lot of them were kind of build up enough attack to smash people's face,
right.
And then if they had, they generally had something else. I think you can't generate enough masks to guarantee distraction is like a good enough defense consistently.
No, I couldn't. That's for sure. But then I was on a sort of bolt and shield team. It was very unhelpful.
It's kind of a little bit of interesting back and play with. Do you spend your masks to distract back one of your things that they're forcing to attack, leaving you with less masks to defend with? Yeah, I think so. It was interesting in the variation of stuff. I like that we both played Rush. I was quite happy to see how many Infinity Gauntlet cards were played. So 17. Very similar to Superman Kryptonite Crisis.
Yeah. I think that's quite a nice distribution, actually. Do you think the Secret Wars thing was just the sort of cult of the new? The fact that there were so many and people just wanted to try them out? Because I'm not sure that it's, don't think those figures are necessarily representative of which set is strong.
Well, I think stuff like the Molecule Man, I definitely think people might not have Robin, so they go Molecule Man. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Super rare.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the top 10, while the Secret Wars cards, Invisible Woman, Distraction, and Molecule Man are the new 3, right? Everything else is
Spider-Gwen.
And Spider-Gwen.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good card as well, yeah.
And everything else is
either fairly good distribution, isn't
it? Down to 14. Those that you mentioned are the only. No, beyond 14. Spider-Man, Deathbird, Dark Phoenix, Mutation, Rocket Raccoon. I mean, you have to go down to 22 before you get to something which is not either Infinity Gauntlet or Dark Phoenix, apart from the 3 or 4 that you mentioned, which was Secret.
Yeah.
So it's probably flex spots and stuff like that, perhaps.
I think that's one of the things that Secret Wars really did is flex. It brought a lot of kind of the necessities back into the game. It felt like we've had for a long time.
Utility cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I suppose we should talk about cards we're surprised aren't on the list, and then the energy types, which is kind of interesting. Bolts and shields, very prevalent, and
not so much with masks and fists. No. What does fists do these days? I think me and Rick were playing Colossus, but not too much else in the way of fists, is it?
No, there really aren't that many. Yeah, there really aren't that many that you'd kind of have on your team. Beast is a good one, but it's not particularly going to win you a game or anything like that.
Vulcan is for the global. He's a fist, I think. Agent Brand, or is she bolts? She's the deadly one.
Agent Brand's fist, yeah.
She's a fist. Yeah. Not much
but
else, no.
The thing I'm surprised wasn't on the list.
Did nobody play him? Because I took him off at the last minute.
He's really good.
He is really good.
He's very difficult. No. The Prep Global one is on there. Yeah, Prep Globals, there's only one Wolverine, one thing. Really? 2 of the uncommon Wolverines. So yeah, like you said, people weren't running.
And only 4 villainous packed. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
That's not much from 20 to 18 teams. There's like 8 Prep Globals or something.
Considering some of those teams ran both of them as well.
Uh-huh. And Mr. Sinister only 4. Yeah, there was a shocking lack of ramp. There really was. I felt it in all my games, I think it's fair to say. Everybody I played only 4 because I got one buy because Spug's internet went down. All 4 people did not bring any significant ramp. I don't think there was a prep global in the 4 teams I played. It was it was quite something. So yeah,
51 of those cards. So what is that? About a quarter of all the cards were individual to a team, which is pretty great.
That is pretty good.
And I think the bottom one is probably the most interesting single, which is the Wonder Woman.
There was only one Wonder Woman who is a pretty powerful.
She was pretty mad.
Given that we were expecting a bunch of Master Mold,
Yeah.
At the top we have a bunch of counters to that in the form of Drax, Spider-Gwen, to some extent, Typhoid Mary, and yes, keeping Molecule Man on your team instead of Robin, for example. Deathbird also as the deadly.
Tombstone,
Intimidate, not so much after that perhaps. But then other
couple
counters.
Of Midnight Spell, the 6 cost.
How many people had that though? I know that Troy had it.
There was at least 2, I think, maybe 3. 31.
30. So just 2 people had Proxima Midnight. Another decent counter. What about?
You think Wonder Woman would be the first and foremost counter,
and
not only that, counters a lot of other things as well.
Only one Pirate Broadcast as well.
I mean,
interesting.
The Pirate Broadcast doesn't surprise me because it's quite difficult to play. It's unless you're very much prepared for it and used to playing with it, it's difficult to kind of just chuck that on a team.
It's a whole mini game to itself, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
What do you mean, chuck something on a team? I'm sure people were preparing for Dice Fight XL.
Well, but what I'm saying is Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman would, to me, just be, if I had the card, might just be an auto include at present.
Well, we could use proxies, Ben, but I know you're averse to that.
Yeah.
And obviously in Worlds, I suppose we're not allowed to. Well, and do you have any favourites from the cards that are there? I really liked Troy played. He was the one with Agent Brand, or 2 people obviously played it. Agent Brand that gives everything fast. You look at it and you think it's only a 2 cost. It's got great fielding, and oh god, does it make life difficult? If you've got some chunky Spider-Men, which he did, for example, you can't get rid of them through combat damage because they just deal their combat damage first, and if that's enough to knock out whatever you're attacking with, I mean, I didn't have great stats maybe, but that was half the problem. But if that's enough to knock out whatever you're trying to get rid of them with, then you don't even return your combat damage because theirs is dealt first and you're gone. So I think that was
Agent Brand is a 3 cost.
Is it? Aha, okay.
Yeah.
Still
very... But it's interesting, yes. Definitely a kind of surprise pick that we didn't expect to see on a couple of... And it made its presence felt for sure.
It made my life uncomfortable.
I really like the fact that there was a Living the Dream basic action card. That was kind of an interesting
was that Jace?
Choice.
I feel that might have been Jace.
No, Living the Dream was one of the kids, I think, actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
And we had some kids playing. We had as many as 3, I think, for sure, which was really good. Really nice. Thank you, all of you, for taking part.
I can't remember if it was the hash.
So Living the Dream is the one that gives Overcrush after you've collected sufficient loyalty counters.
Yeah, and he used the Jean Grey, where if nothing is KO'd on your turn.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of just a little fun combo. It's quite easy to get some tokens on Jean Grey that you wouldn't necessarily think would be easy. It kind of wraps up quite fast, and that's a very powerful card if it can get set up. I think probably the other standout one for me would be Tombstone, which I did play myself, but just as a counter to Master Mold, it can be very effective.
And he's a villain, and he's got good stats.
And he's a villain, yeah.
And,
it can be very
we've
annoying.
Got free fielding globals going on, so that's...
Yeah. It can be very annoying against my team where it stops me from buying Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, I was thinking about that,
yeah. Very irritating. But yeah, that's a good card.
Indeed. So, was there anything else, Ben, that we'd like to say? I think I'd like to thank Nick once again for this marvellous analysis. I think it's very interesting, and we'll go into this in a bit more detail when we talk about our teams in a bit more detail and the teams that we played against. Okay, thank you everybody at home for watching. Thank you, Ben, for talking, and
Oh, thank you.
please keep your ears peeled, no, your eyes peeled for the next video about Dice Fight XL, which will be the sort of teamy thing. Okay, thank you very much. Have a lovely time. See you soon.
Bye bye.